So somebody asked me what I thought was, I'm going to take these all out of order, and so I hope I don't leave any of them out. But what did I learn, and what were some of the important things that I got out of this program? And I said a little bit earlier, the weekly or at least semi-weekly reminders that, hey, you have something coming up that you need to report on. That was helpful. I came in yesterday and worked on a couple of units to get this where it looked like I'd done something since the last time we did one of these. So my course, again, real quick, is negotiation and conflict resolution. It is multifaceted in that it fits a lot of different places within the university and college structure. The course is primarily negotiation. The conflict resolution is only one slice of 7 units, basically. And so it's built on the premise of basically about 4 units to get ready to learn to negotiate, and the last 2 units are what I organized as application units. And so Unit 6, for example, is purchase of an automobile. Unit 7 is real estate. And so those are the more applied pieces that come at the end. Unit 6 I just finished this morning. Unit 7 is, I have pieces there, but it's certainly not finished. If I had to guess right now, this is, I'll call the course 80 to 85% done. So there's some things that Yuhan and I have talked about that I would like to go back and add now that I have the base. But all the units are structured just about the same way. Units 4 and 7 are different structurally because there's a midterm and a final, and so I removed some of the week-to-week busy work, for lack of a better term, just to give more time to devote to basically what amounted to some essay questions. So some of the things that I got from the midterm showcase that I'm going to put back into the class, and I just wanted to get the base template finished first, was to turn this into a true checklist where you could kind of check things off as they're finished. I've just gone ahead with that structure, and then I'll go back all at once and make those edits. But within each unit then, there's the reading assignments, obviously. I broke out the unit learning objectives. Some of them, there's only one per unit, but others had 3 or 4, and so I gave it its own folder so it wouldn't make the page any longer than necessary. And then I've got somewhere between usually 3 to 5 pieces that are video components, but also some activities. For example, there's a section in here where you're assessing your own communication style and persuasion style. So they go out and basically take an inventory, and it reports back the results, and then that's part of the what they'll do in that particular unit's discussion. Unit 1 is, I let them ramp up a little bit. It's not a full week's work as compared to some of the others, and I did that based on the fact that it seems every semester I've tried to do something, a lot of things in the first week of the course. I get disappointed because I have a bunch of people that are added on Friday of the first week, and I have to start over. So I did a Unit 1 discussion that served a little bit. One of the things that I have to talk about was engagement. I didn't have a formal introduce yourself component because they had to give so many personal examples and stories in the various discussions that I may have something where they post a short autobiography of sorts, but they're going to do a whole lot of just getting to know one another by virtue of the way the discussions are organized. And so they're kind of mini writing assignments. And then a reading quiz. And so that's basically what the first unit came to be. For subsequent units 2, 3, and then 5 and 6, you get more of a full idea of what the week's work looks like. So there's not only a discussion, but a quiz, and then an assignment. They're writing in nature, somewhere between 3 and 5 or 6 pages in terms of kind of mini research papers. And then in weeks 4 and 7, they do a midterm and a final. I'm still working on the final exam, but the midterm is basically 5 essay questions, and there's some guidelines there. And so I want them to take much more time to do that. I removed some of the other things other than just a reading quiz in there. So I'm basically going to repeat that in Unit 7. I have grand designs on some way of implementing in the movie 12 Angry Men into Unit 7 for the final, but I hadn't yet figured out exactly how I'm going to pull that. So, in terms of interaction, the student-to-student will be basically weekly, with the exception of the midterm and final. I want them to have as little interaction as is possible during the week that they're taking a midterm and a final exam. So there's not a lot built in there. I have a notation in here that I'm going to set up live Skype sessions for them to meet with me, or at least the option for that. But I haven't integrated all of that in. I have the Skype account, but I haven't written out those instructions or guidelines just yet. So for the written assignments, I utilize grading rubrics and then the comment sections, but because it's writing in nature, it's not a writing intensive course. And so you can go in and they'll be able to see not only the rubric that I've completed, but the comments that I make on the written documents that they have to upload there. So what I like most about the course is actually just the way it's organized. I kept to the principles that I wanted for keeping it easy to navigate through. I will back up and tell you I'm in the last 8 days of a master's degree that I've been working on for the last year and a half, which would be a second master's degree. And so all those classes have been online. And the one thing that that gave me trouble was not necessarily the content of moving from one to the other. It's that I'd get from Class A to Class B, and they weren't organized anything alike. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to make sure that somebody knew where to start and just how to get going. And then it kind of takes care of itself. So I'm probably most proud about that. I've learned a lot from watching other people, and so I like the idea of a portfolio. I won't necessarily use it for this class, but my writing intensive class, that's something that I think I'll be exploring a little bit to see if I can, particularly for the unit where I have this large, what they call a key assignment, I may do something there. Important things to keep in mind when developing an online class, very simple, approach it like you're the student. Because that made me sit down and say, well, I've always done this, but how will that be viewed by somebody that maybe has never taken one of these classes before? And so that would be about the extent of my advice. Every topic is so different, and the course content sometimes dictates that it's organized in a different way. But if you approach it from the mindset of what's the student going to see, so I caught myself frequently coming up here and clicking this button because it shows what the student sees. Say, did I get everything? Did I leave something out? And in fact, just this morning, I'm working on Unit 6, and because I did that, and then went back and I was just going through everything, I realized that at that point I hadn't put in the learning objectives for that particular unit. And so just going through it, what's the student going to see? That's tended to work pretty well. Success, I certainly don't have an acronym. You guys did a good job with that. I would say that it'd be maybe twofold. Right? One is I want to come as close as I possibly can to mirroring what the students would get in a seated class. And the other one is just survival. But particularly for this is 7 weeks. It's going to be a faster pace, and just being able to say, I made it. There'll be some degree of success in there. So some of the things that I'm going to add that aren't there, Johan and I have talked about, I have all these videos and activities, and so I'm going to write short annotations for what each one of these are. I'm going to put some estimated times in there. Some of the videos are as short as 4 to 6 minutes. Some of them are as long as 40. And so a person being able to say, yes, I can start on this, or no, I
That's a really good idea.
those are some things that will be there, but as I said, I would estimate 80 to 85% finished, and so these are pieces that I thought I'd just get the base course finished, and then I can go back and do those. Even if I have to do them a week ahead of the students, I can, maybe survive that. So, questions?
I guess just more comments. I agree with everything you're saying about course navigation. It's very simple, and that's something I've seen across the board from everyone's class, is really making sure you keep in mind the student perspective. Even though it's a 300-level class, you may have a student who's never taken an online class before. So being very conscious of that, of making sure, it's very clear when they start and taking that student perspective.
Right. One is on me to develop an introduction video where I just introduce myself. I've always done that by text, but I've at least made some notes on what I want to include in that when I get to that point.
It's good to see a face.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Any other?
Well, thank you.
I was trying to think of, I noticed, and maybe I misheard you or something, but the introduction, that you didn't really have like a personal introduction.
Well, so
And I always try to give like an opportunity for students to say something special about me or whatever, just for me to remember them,
right.
but also for others. And I wonder if you could do something like, and this, maybe it'll just be a little nugget to get you started in thinking, but like some silly example of like something they negotiated with their parents, or
Right.
like like negotiating chores or something, like a little story that they could tell.
So in fact,
That would
that's
help them.
kind of what the first discussion is.
Oh.
And I didn't frame it as a true introduce yourself forum, but so I start with, we've all participated in negotiation on some level. I want them to describe a negotiation that they've taken part in and what they used as their initial offer, their target, their resist. In other words, some examples. And so I actually intend to use that to remember them. And it's one of the reasons I'm debating exactly how I want to do introductions. Every forum is like that, where they have to talk about, here's what I found or what I did. So one of the others is, I can't remember which unit it appears.
How did you have them report that? Was it on discussion board or?
It's through a discussion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you have like a video component? Like, are you using?
Not for, it's not required of them. I think it's unit 3. I'll find it here in a second. Yeah, so this one was another one where I'll get to know them by process of what the assignment is. And so in this one, I'm going to send them out where they're going to take a little bit of a, like a self-assessment, and it's going to identify their conflict management style. And then I'm going to have them give examples of when have you used that successfully, when have you used that unsuccessfully. Right? And so I tried to build that throughout and not just do it all at once at the start.